Well, good afternoon, folks. I received a WhatsApp message featuring Dr. Umar Johnson. So I'm going to give a summary of the response I gave to my friend on WhatsApp, but obviously I'm going to include no more details than I did on the WhatsApp message. So, regarding dear Dr. Umar Johnson, I agree with some of his points and I see where he's coming from. However, the world doesn't work in black and white, likewise with life. So let's talk about the points I understand he's making. For example, let's take the institution of marriage from an economical standpoint. So yes, if the man passes away and he has a degree of wealth, then the money's going to go to the woman, and if the woman is not of Afro American or Afro Caribbean, or she's not of African descent, then economically wise, it goes away from the Afro community. So I understand what you're saying in that sense, and that makes logical sense. However, life, as I previously said, life doesn't work in black and white. I don't believe in telling people who they should and shouldn't be attracted to. So that's problem number one with that. Though I understand what you're saying and it makes sense, but I don't have the authority to tell you who you should be attracted to. Secondly, um, in regards to here in the UK, people like Dr. Umar, they have a hard sell on their hand because I'm going to say things that a lot of people who talk on this subject do not acknowledge and do not talk about. Here in the UK, it's not like America. We don't have cities full of black neighborhoods or cities full of black people. Our black neighborhoods is very multicultural in comparison to an American black neighborhood. I mean, when I went to New York, in Crown Heights, in Brooklyn, and Prospect Park, I might as well have been in the Caribbean. I mean, I could easily stood on the high street and waited for 5 minutes and not see a white person go past me. That is impossible here in the UK, even in a quote unquote black neighborhood. That just won't happen. So things are very different. So why I talk about a hard sell Dr. Uma would have here in the UK. This is how it is here in the UK. Wrongfully or rightfully so, from men's point of view, white women in particular, as well as other non-black women, but white women in particular, tend to be more friendlier than black women in general. This doesn't apply to all black women, of course. I'm not saying black women are not friendly, but the impression and the reputation or the experience a lot of black men have who date outside the race, they find that white women are more friendlier and more pleasant to approach. Right. So again, to tell them to ignore the positive responses that they get from white women, that's going to be a very hard sell. I mean, this even applies to me. Since my teenage years, I'm 62 years old now, but since my teenage years, I've received a warmer welcome from non-black women for the most part. That doesn't mean I've never dated black women. That does not mean I don't find black women attractive. It doesn't mean I won't date a black woman. Of course not. But if I had to go off my experience, the amount of times I've been eyed up and smiled at from a black woman, I could probably count that on one hand. The occasions are very, very rare. I mean, it's 2026 now. I think the last time something like that happened, actually, I was smiled at last year. I was surprised with that. But before that, we got to go back years. When it comes to white women, I've forgotten how many times I've been smiled at. I've forgotten how many times I've been eyed up. I've forgotten how many times I've been on a dance floor and a white woman come and dance with me. I've forgotten how many times, if I'm at a weekend event like a festival, a white woman's made conversation and it said something to break the ice. With a black woman, more or less never happens. If it has, it's been very rare. So, so come back to Dr. Umar to tell the brothers here to ignore all that positive attention for what they perceive as a stone face or resting bitch face. On the most part, that's going to be a hard sell to them. It really is. However, I'm not a complete arsehole. I do hear the feedback from a lot of sisters here, and which is a bit unfortunate because from their point of view, from where they're sitting, a lot of brothers ain't checking for them here in the UK. So if from their point of view, if they're walking down the road and they see a bro, immediately for many of them to think, well, he's not into me anyway. So why should they give him a smiling face or give a warm persona if they feel that she is not welcome in regards to him, or if they feel there's a group of guys they are not welcome amongst them? Why should they be friendly and warm and outgoing? The roles were reversed. I wouldn't, because from my point of view, I don't get the best response from black women. So I'm not in a hurry to show a smiling face because from where I'm sitting, I'm not welcomed. So I can see it from their point of view. From their point of view, see a brother like me walking the road. Why should they smile at me? Why should they eye me up? Because they would immediately think, well, he doesn't like me anyway, chances are. So why should I bother? Horrible catch-22 we are here in the UK. Horrible catch-22. But at least I'm man enough to acknowledge it and recognize it. Speaking of recognizing things and acknowledging things, one of my biggest problems is when I do come across people like Dr. Umar or women who think, such as the pro-black, pro-African, is when you explain your experiences, when you say, well, look, I tend not to go down very well, even when I worked as a male stripper. Most of the time, it was a white audience that gave me the warmer reception. Yes, I did get warm reception from a few black parties, but in comparing them to their peers, not as friendly as the white women. So my issue is when I reveal my lived experience, I tend to see a lack of acknowledgement. In some cases, they try to twist it like as though it's a figment of my imagination. And that's why I lose respect. I think, well, either acknowledge that there's not so pleasant apples amongst you, or acknowledge there is that sort of mentality. But to pretend it doesn't exist, it makes me lose respect for you. However, as I mentioned in my audiobook, I'm not completely blind. I talk in my audiobook, which is called The Jagged Pathway, An Extraordinary Journey of a Not So Ordinary Single Life, available on Spotify and Rakuten Kobo. There's a chapter which is titled The Downside of Interracial Dating. So even though I've been involved in mostly interracial dating, I still see the downside, and I talk about the downside, and I acknowledge there is a downside. So at least I'm honest. I'm not saying interracial dating is the best thing, ignore the sisters. No, I'm not. I will never say that. I don't stand for that. I will never stand for that. But at the same time, I'm man enough to point out, yes, the grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side of the fence. It does have its problems, even though I'm enjoying myself on this side of the fence with the attention and warm welcome I get. It doesn't come without its problems. So there we go. So I hope that makes sense to some of you. Oh, one more thing. My friend who sent me that WhatsApp message, he falls in a demographic of being what's the word I'm looking for? Desirable. There's another word. Select. He falls into the select group. Now, I've been told that where black women are concerned, I am in the non-select group. I am not classically good looking. I'm 5'9". Yes, I'm in bloody good shape. For 62 years old. For 62 years old, I'm quite jacked. Yeah, so for 62 years old, I'm in good shape. However, it doesn't take away the fact that I don't class myself as classically good looking. I'm not 6'2" plus. I'm not over 6 foot tall. So where a lot of black women would be concerned, I would be non-select. But the guy who sent me the WhatsApp message, he is 6 foot plus tall, very good body, very handsome. And he says he doesn't notice the same experience that I talk about. I thought, well, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. And this is the mistake a lot of successful black men in dating make. They assume what applies to them equally applies to all other black guys. Just because he is having a well of a time and he doesn't get a negative response, he assumes that all other black guys share the same experience. So to the Tyrones watching, to the classically good-looking black man who's watching this, don't make that mistake. I'm happy for you that you're having a brilliant time, getting admiration from lots of the sisters. Good, but that doesn't apply to all of us. So don't ever make out that we are in the same boat as you, because we are simply not. There we go. Thank you very much. 11 minutes is a bit too long, but I had a lot to say. I can't condense this information down in 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, bye.